Hey love, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about today's message came on very strong and firmly, and I have some notes for the collective. Spirit said you cannot bypass spiritual laws, you cannot skip your assignments, and you cannot level up before you're ready. Not to be negative or anything, but I see a lot of people try to do things that they're not spiritually ready for, or their frequencies have not held. And the way this message came through, it's showing me video games. Hi, I'm Noxie. I am your guide to shadow integration, frequency rising, and everything esoteric and divine. So, in today's video, I want us to focus on the video game analogy. And remember, as above, so below. Keep that in mind with everything you do. Nothing is new under the sun. Yes, nothing's new under the sun. That's what I'm hearing. Everything has had an origin story. But now, since we're talking about video games, in every game you do, there are levels. There's bosses or characters you have to beat in order to make it to the next level. And if you try to skip that level, the game literally it won't let you, because you have to fight the boss, or you have to collect a certain amount of coins. Now, if you try to skip the level, the game, it doesn't show you the full map. You haven't trained enough to beat the boss level, or even the boss in that level. And so I want people to understand that spirit works the same way. There's certain levels, there's certain cycles, there's certain people you have to meet. And in the spirit world, and how this works is behaviors, patterns. You might have some shadow work to do that you've ignored for years. You might have resisted your shadow integration or Saturn return. And I hear that a lot. A lot of people who have a tough time with their Saturn return and don't learn from it have a really tough time later on in life. And I'm not saying, I'm not wishing anyone bad, but these are facts. If you have a problem with something, you have to face it head on. Remember, fear is the greatest demotivator, is the greatest setback in someone's life. So now let's go back to the video games, the coins and the power-ups. In most games, you can buy certain coins, a certain amount, and kind of get through to the next level with all your equipment, everything, the whole half the map is open. But the thing is, in the spiritual realm, the equivalent of that, and so you can bypass some aspects of your spiritual journey, only cap locks, only if you do good deeds, acts of service, kindness, helping others, donating, healing your body, taking accountability, cleansing your space, releasing weight, fasting, shadow work, or showing compassion. These things do give you boosts. They do open up more opportunities on your journey, and they give you energetic currency and soften your karma, your shadows, because you're giving freely, not because you have to, freely. Remember, that's the key thing. There's people who do this work and they expect something in return. No, that's not how it works. You give something because you want to, because you're genuine about it. If you don't feel genuine, please don't take this path. Don't even attempt it, because the repercussions do come in harsher. because that's still bypassing. But if you're doing this genuinely and you do feel called to volunteer, to feed people, to plant trees, to renew certain things in people's life, then do that. But if you're not called, don't force your way through this. So bypassing can be dangerous because if you skip too many levels at once, this is where we see psychosis. And I'm not a medical professional, but also schizophrenia. There's people who it gets activated around the ages of 18 to 30. Why? Because and I'm speaking strictly spiritual, not medical. Um, they These ages are very spiritually dense ages because a lot of karma, a lot of lessons needed to be released before you go out into the world. But a lot of people still function under the old programming. It could be your parents' programming, it could be friends, it could be a multitude of things. But this is why I encourage shadow work, because in my life, I went through all years of just ignoring these signs. I remember spirit always reaches out. There's not a day that I don't think about the kind person I met down the street, the person who gave me something that I didn't ask for, but it was exactly what I needed. So be aware of these signs and symbols. But when you spiritual bypass and you skip a lot of lessons, you don't learn what you need, and you're not as strong as you need to be for these next levels. Because remember, frequency, the higher your frequency, the stronger your mind is, the stronger your body is, the more boundaries you have for yourself in order to navigate the world that we're in. Okay? So you will enter a bigger room if you do bypass. You will get bigger blessings, bigger responsibilities. But if you still have the same habits, the same underdeveloped emotional muscles, that's where self destruction comes in. And I'm not talking self sabotage, this is pure self destruction. And this is where, remember, I'm not a medical expert, but this is where a lot of people gain into addictions, into darkness, like very dark part of themselves, but they're not even learning from this darkness. So they start harming people. This is where you start seeing violence and torture, because these people bypass a lot of these lessons that were supposed to be integrated earlier. And many relationships collapse during this time. Money gets drained, opportunities slip through. And I guess this is where a lot of people say karma is real. But yes and no, because karma works solely based off your frequency. So you have to understand that everything is about you. Your spirit guides, the divine, the universe wants you to reach your highest potential, not bypass your highest potential. They want you to grow and callous that, your knuckles through all these spiritual tests and elevations. So the truth about frequency work is raising your frequency. It's not about being perfect. I hear a lot of people who say, you're spiritual, but you're not rich. You're spiritual, but you only eat a certain food type, or you only do certain things. Well, the thing is, with raising your frequency, if you're called to do it, it is needed, because you and your team need you to be at a certain frequency, and they need you to be ready. Okay, no matter what form that looks like. Okay, some people give up money, like the monks, and parts of small parts of the monk religion or culture, other people going to complete and almost isolated solitude. They live in nature. So whatever you're called to at that moment, do it. Remember, it's between you and your guides. And when you're ready, these are the signs when your frequency is rising. And I know a lot of people talk about timelines and skipping timelines and jumping into timelines. That all sounds great, right? But people are forgetting your frequency has to match the timeline you're trying to get to. Okay, that's the only way you're going to time travel. If your frequency is lower, you're going to travel into a denser timeline. So, and I'm not saying it's dangerous, do as you will, right? But the higher your frequency, the higher timelines you can reach. Okay? So when you're ready, you'll understand, you'll feel it. All your chakras will be completely aligned. Think of the avatar when he aligned all his chakras. You ended the cycles, you changed the patterns, you learned the lessons, you released the shadow, you're working with your shadow, you take action, you become the version that you've always felt and manifested and even dreamt of. Because Spirit never blesses you without giving you lightness. All right? Remember, it's not a burden when Spirit blesses you because they understand your frequency is risen. So the beauty of the tasks, I know a lot of people hate this. Like, oh, why is Spirit testing me? Why am I going through all this? No, you need to reframe your mind. When Spirit shows you a loop, you need to pay special attention to the loop, okay? Be aware, all right? So ask yourself, why is this loop repeating? What do I need to do? And why isn't this door opening? And sure enough, if you check everything, right, there's usually something that's not finished. You're avoiding hard conversations. You have met people who are destined to take you to the next level, but you've rejected. Your boundaries need strengthening. Oh my goodness. I worked with this one for a while, but hey, it worked out. So your inner child needs attention. Your body needs detoxing. Some of you just need a simple colonic, and literally that's it. I know it sounds crazy. It's never a major thing when you think of a test, but there's some work that's so dense that you do need some time to work through it, okay? Sometimes you have the smaller tasks, sometimes you have the bigger tasks. But don't worry about it. Remember, it will all help you in the end, okay? And for some, your heart needs to release and forgive. You need to learn how to do that, okay? And lastly, this is my favorite one, your shadow needs integration. And I'll give you a little backstory about me. After my divorce, I literally went a year and a half of a complete shutdown. And I couldn't do anything. I was so drained. I was so just in a dark place, mentally, physically, spiritually. All my chakra centers were completely annihilated. It felt like I was empty, literally. But guess what? When I started working with my shadow, and keep in mind, you're going to cry a lot, so you better have your tissues, your journals, everything. Because when I started integrating my shadow, that's where I got the mind reframe. Reframing is not ignoring the problem, but you're acknowledging it and you're alchemizing it. You're transmuting your energy. So, for example, I'll use one. Let's say I hate myself, right? Instead of saying I hate myself, you reframe and say there's parts of me that need to be changed in order to be my best self. Do you see? So start doing that with a lot of things that you think about that are negative, and integrate that shadow using reframing, okay, of the mind. And so, how to level up properly? You need to finish the assignment, and remember, you will know when it's done because Spirit always tells you, um, take aligned action. So if you want to become, I don't know, a plumber, you know the steps to become a plumber, right? So take one step at a time until you get to your destination. Clean your energy field. A lot of people need to clean their homes, which is part of your energy field. You need to eat better, which is part of your energy field. Some you might need to stop watching certain movies, stop listening to certain music. I'm not saying everything, I'm not saying delete everything, but there's certain things that drain your frequency. And I'm not saying the artists do this or the actresses and actors, but just there's some things that do have a lower vibration. So remove those things that have lower vibrations, detox from that, okay, to raise your aura and energy fields. So use power ups with intention, not avoidance. Remember, you can't bypass these things if you're not genuine. If you don't feel like volunteering, don't volunteer. If you prefer helping pets and fur babies, then do that, okay? That's a genuine action, okay? But if you don't like donating food, okay, feed people. Like, find ways for these intentional activities, all right? And remember, don't rush. And thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I appreciate you so much. Remember, you're not blocked, you're being prepared. Remember, everything is happening for you, okay? Spirit isn't withholding your blessing, they're protecting you from receiving something you're not ready yet. If they gave you, we've watched like hundreds of lottery winners. They can't hold that money because they were not prepared to hold that kind of frequency. Okay? And the ones who do hold that money are very prepared. They're very organized. They understood that, hey, when this money comes in, these are the steps I am going to take. So you need to do the same thing with anything you desire, anything you need. Okay? You can't make a wish and not be prepared for it. Always be prepared. Assume it's already there. Actually, it is already there. You just have to take the steps, okay? So finish these levels, complete the task, and watch how quickly the doors open for you. And if this message touched you in any way or resonated with you, please trust that you're close to your next level. I cannot say this loud enough for the collective. You're ready for the next level. Just trust yourself. All right. Comment, I am ready to anchor the energy. All right. And if you want more channel guidance, subscribe. I'll see you there, on my videos. And I'm so glad you're here. So have a blessed day. Yellow butterflies.